It is race day on the streets of Long Beach for the NTT IndyCar Series, the third race of the season. We are here to break it all down for you. Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets. That's Mike at Indy_bet, and Jared Sparkman with us as well at JSparkman_. Gentlemen, we had qualifying yesterday. We kind of talked about this off the air. Mike, we'll start with you. Are we riding Colton Herta to the promised land today? We're going to look at the rest of the field to see what happens.
Yeah, Tony, Colton Herta with the track record absolutely destroyed the field. No surprise, given he was our early favorite. We did talk about that qualifying. If you're able to get in some pre-qualifying bets, you could have snagged Rossi at a little bit better number, 4 to 5 to 1 range. But you also had Rossi out there at 16 to 1, Grosjean out there at 10 to 1. So really, the question of the day comes down to me is to Herta or not to Herta. If you think Herta's going to run away with this thing, you put your money on that 2.5 to 1. You probably need to allocate most of your bankroll to that. Or if you were able to get some good numbers in qualifying, we talked about, I was able to grab Rossi at 16 to 1, Grosjean at 10 to 1. Pretty happy with those positions after, they made the Fast Six. Probably going to sit on those, but towards more of the top 3 matchup market.
Well, I owe you $10 because Grosjean barely makes it into the top 6. I'm going to say barely because we had the penalty that they had to sit and wait through. And then he puts in a tire barrier in that Firestone Fast Six. Jared, Colton's been the guy. We know he dominated the race last year after starting 14th. As Mike mentioned, track record, California kid on the streets of Long Beach where he grew up. Is he going to be able to get it done today, or are you looking elsewhere for maybe some value throughout the board?
Well, I like Mike's statement there, to Herta or not to Herta. I'm kind of to Herta-ing today. I feel like he's just got such a good track record there, and the track record yesterday in qualifying. So I definitely have some, even at the lower odds, race day odds, I still like him. I'm still going to have some plays on Herta. So I like a few other things that we can get into here soon, but yeah, that was a wild qualifying session. So
yeah, and
I feel like
put on the Andretti shirt today because they have been dominant with 3 of the top 6 starting positions with Rossi, Grosjean, and obviously Colton Herta on the pole. Mike, yesterday a few people, you noticed this too. I know you didn't want to say anything too much out loud because you wanted people to get on it. But what did PointsBet do that might cost them at the end of today?
Yeah, with IndyCar, we're such a young market that sports books are not always paying attention, and that's where you can make some money. And there was a book out there, PointsBet, which is technically the book of IndyCar, that mixed up their odds, and it looked like to me they put the Indy 500 odds on the Long Beach odds. So my Twitter, you gotta follow me on Twitter. I had a couple people message me. I wish I could give credit to exactly who that was, but a couple people saw 9 to 1 out there on Herta after he had made the pole. So if you're on your ball and you're keeping an eye on those things, 9 to 1 on Herta is a mistake. Obviously, he's 2.5 to 1 in most sports books out there today. So if you saw that 9 to 1, that is a drop all your bankroll. It's not a guarantee. Trust me, I've seen mistakes before that have bitten me, but I also have profited off of them as well. So if you saw that 9 to 1, and hey, if you still can see that 9 to 1, if it's still out there, or you can still grab it, you got to kind of keep an eye on those sports books and see if they make mistakes. And they do this sometimes with matchups as well.
Colton Herta on the pole. Joseph Newgarden starts second, then Alex Palou, Felix Rosenqvist, and Alexander Rossi, your top 5 starters. Romain Grosjean rounded out that top 6. Jared, let's head to you two. I have Marcus Ericsson at a pre-race bet, Simon Pagenaud, and Alexander Rossi. I've gained a little bit of odds on that, a little bit of a number there. Still going to ride it out because, again, anything can happen. We know how good Marcus Ericsson looked pretty good in that first practice. He obviously won Detroit last year as well as Nashville. I think if Alexander Rossi is ever going to break out of this slump, it's going to be at a place like Long Beach, if not Indianapolis. But, again, Long Beach is a place that he's won 2 out of the last 3. He's shown pace throughout the practice sessions. Will Power, Marcus Ericsson, the points leader, Scott McLaughlin starting inside of the top 10. Jared, we'll start with you on some bets to win that we like before we get a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the prop bets as well.
Well, let's go ahead and pull up the odds here, and yeah, I mean, looking on DraftKings today, they still have just to win. So we were looking around trying to find some other sites that might have something up. Looks like we got some stuff at Barstool Sportsbook, and so yeah, I mean,
it looks like Barstool is the only book that has the matchups and the props that kind of, as IndyCar fans, I think that we are all yearning for, right? Like, it's cool to just bet the winner, but I think the three of us can all agree that we want some matchup bets, more matchup bets. I know they have a race prop that we'll get to. Yeah. So let's look at some of these. Mike, we'll start with you. What sticks out for your straight-up winner? I mean, obviously, you're kind of probably going to cover your own ass by going Colton Herta at plus 250 there. But anybody else on the board there to win the race stick out to you? I mean, McLaughlin at 12-1 seems to be something that might be enticing. Alexander Rossi at 9-1. Scott Dixon 22-1. He's the fuel mileage king. Who else besides Colton Herta? We'll start with you, Mike, sticks out.
Yeah, so like we talked about earlier, I think your decision is either you're going to kind of place your units on Herta, but if you were to decide to go elsewhere, let's say you didn't have those pre-qualifying numbers that we talked about earlier, you weren't able to get better numbers on Rossi Grosjean or anybody else up there, I'd probably look to pick three of those top six. My eye still goes to Rossi. I have that pre-bet on him at 16-1. 9-1's not much worse. He's still in that top five. So I'd look to Rossi. Grosjean's fast. I feel bad. I collected that $10 from you after that penalty. I feel like you should just maybe it should be like 5 because it was definitely a little sketchy. But yeah, I was looking at Grosjean before the race. Even though they all blew away the track record, it's crazy. How much more speed they showed this year than last. So I'd be looking to grab Grosjean, Rossi, and then probably Newgarden would be the three that I would probably sprinkle about 33% of my bankroll on if I wasn't going to put 100% on Herta.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking down the list, trying to see if obviously the Herta play makes sense just for so many reasons. I don't know. I kind of look at Felix and Pato as if the race gets a little dicey or some things happen, I could definitely see a scenario where Pato or Felix kind of finds themselves up front leading the race, and I still think they have enough strength and quickness to get the job done. So that may be somewhere when I'm looking like Pato at 18-1. I still feel like I'm sticking with Herta, but that may be something I kind of like.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the Aero camp, they seem to have found something pretty massive between practice 2 and qualifying. They weren't in the top 10 in practice 2. When you look at the starting grid of where they are, you've got Rosenqvist obviously 4th. I like Felix a great deal. I've mentioned that many times, but he's still a complete fade for me when I'm putting money on it. So we'll get to that in some of the matchups. A couple teams that really haven't been impressive or really even I'm going to think about touching for sure. Rahal Letterman-Lanigan Racing has not had a good weekend. Neither has AJ Foyt Racing, as we know, and Ed Carpenter Racing really hasn't shown up on the speed charts as well. We'll start with you on this, Mike, before we get into some of these matchups and the other bets. Meyer Shank Racing. Okay, Elio Castroneves had a really good Long Beach last year. Simon Pagenaud has been fast in some of the practices over the weekend. Pagenaud will roll off 10th. Elio rolls off 14. Anything worth touching with the two Meyer Shank Racing teammates coming up later on today at Long Beach?
Yeah, well, like I said, I was able to get some good numbers on Rogie and Grosjean, but it also goes the other way. Pre-qualifying, I did have Helio. I got him at 40-1. So, I'm going to be sitting on that position. That went the wrong way. Obviously, he didn't qualify well. If there was anybody down the board, Award was somebody I was looking at. Dixon as well, staring me in the face. I've never seen 22-1 might be the highest number I can remember for Scott Dixon, but this is, he didn't qualify well. So if you are looking for a long shot, you think the race might get a little wonky, it could be some fuel mileage stuff. Award is shown to be fast here, and Helio also has done really well in Long Beach, has a good history, knows his way around the track.
Yeah, and I look at, Team Penske's obviously won the first 2 races of the year. McLaughlin's led, I think, 64% of the laps so far between St. Pete and Texas. So I think we will see something a little bit different than what we are used to. Anybody else there for you, Jared? I mean, Mike, you're so right. Scott Dixon is worth at least like a $10 play or, a quarter unit, however you want to play it. I mean, at 22 to 1, if things stay green, which I don't think they will. I mean, I think we saw Jimmy Johnson's going to find the tire barriers at least one time today. One of the rookies probably will too. So I'm expecting a 3 to 4 yellow flag type race, maybe even more. So the fuel strategy may or may not work out, but Dixon is the guy, Jared. If things could get stretched out and you're looking for a guy to maybe gain 2 or 3 laps per stint to make it to the end, it's a relatively short race today if you think about it compared to some of the other circuits. Jared, anybody else stick out for you with some long shot odds? Again, Marcus Ericsson there at 18 to 1. I've got him at a 30 to 1 from Thursday. But yeah, anybody else on that board that we're looking at right there? Tickle your fancy, so to speak.
Yeah, not really to win. I mean, I feel like we talked about Pato a minute ago. Obviously, Dixon at 22 to 1. That we could see that happen, and no one would really be like super surprised. I mean, I feel like there's probably going to be some chargers here in the back half of the field. Some people really making some moves, but as far as a betting standpoint, I mean, anyone past Dixon, I just feel like I can't get behind to win, which brings us up to some top 3 options, and I believe there's some matchup options. So if you guys are down, let's get into our top 3 here.
Yeah, what sticks out, I'll go first here, Mike. What sticks out here, I like Alex Palou at plus 165. I think he has been quietly good this year. I mean, we think about the defending champion. He's up there in points. He's had 2 good races to start the season. A top 3 at plus money at 165. I like that. Rossi, again, I think is going to finish on the podium. So I am going to put a unit or so, $10, $15 bet on Alexander Rossi at plus 230 as well there. Will Power is a guy that, Mike, I know that you love to bet, plus 275. I mean, this is probably where this and, the matchups is probably where I'm going to sprinkle the majority of my bankroll today. Just because everybody besides Colton Herta is in plus money, and you can even kind of cover your ass again by taking Colton Herta at I think an okay number at minus 139 to finish on the podium. I mean, I think all the chaos is going to happen in this race today at Long Beach is going to happen throughout the field. It's not really going to happen up front, and as long as you can survive the start and the restarts, which this place more than almost any track on the circuit, the leader really has the control of the restart coming around that hairpin. So I like Colton Herta to keep it clean, certainly to finish on the podium at minus 135. Mike, we'll start with you here. Podium finishes. Where are you gonna look to make a little coin today?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, when you have a race, you have some guy that's dominating like Herta and is a substantial favorite. This is where I like to live with most of my bets, and the matchup market. So, I was able to grab a couple numbers early as well. We talked about pre-qualifying with Newgarden and Rossi. So I may even double down with those 2. Those are the 2 I liked before qualifying. Those are the 2 I like after qualifying. So you could put me down for Newgarden. Plus 120 is really not a terrible number compared to where he was before. He was 2 to 1 before qualifying. And Rossi was 4.5 to 1 before qualifying. So obviously a little bit of a drop there, but still a decent number, getting it over 2 to 1 your money. So Rossi and Newgarden, Grosjean, he scares me a little bit. I feel like he's a guy that's going to win, or he's going to stick his nose somewhere, put it in the wall. Yeah. And I do love power, so Rossi and Grosjean are going to be my 2 top 3s that I'm comfortable with.
Jared?
Yeah, for top 3s, I mean, on my card here, I got Rossi at plus 230. I most of the time, I'm kind of like all right, fire up the app about an hour before the race and see what's out there. Obviously, in betting, you want to be able to get good odds. You want to be able to get them on them early. It doesn't always go the way you want, like Mike was saying with Elio. But Rossi at plus 230, I like that. I'm trying to look here. I mean, Pato at plus 450. 450, Dixon at plus 550. Those are both I still like. My play though today was I got Rossi at top 3 at 3 units.
Yeah, and I like Dixon again at plus 550. Anybody really? I mean, I know it's more fun, obviously, to take somebody that is a 10 to 1 or more to land on the podium, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, I think Sato is 125 to 1 today to win the thing, and it's like, man, at least that would make it exciting, but it's going to be hard to get from his starting position up towards the front. I mean, the guy's starting 23rd, so probably not going to happen. If we could scroll down here, too, as well, and we're using Barstool this week. As Mike's mentioned and preached, make sure you check all the books. Things may change after this warm-up that's going to come up here soon, or may have already happened as we tape this on Sunday morning. Best finishing position, man, Jared kind of brought this to my attention. I know that he is on it. I'm sorry, it's a matchup bet. I think, right here. Right there, the third one down. I know it's minus 115. You're paying a little bit of juice. But with Felix Rosenqvist being a complete fade for me, and I think McLaughlin's got a faster car than what his starting position shows.
Yeah, I agree.
At minus 115, Scott McLaughlin, I mean, over Felix Rosenqvist. Bet the mortgage, bet the dog, bet the college education for your kids on this. I don't see any way, unless there's some kind of chaos on the first lap, which could happen. I understand that. But I see Felix kind of fading out, finishing probably 10th to 12th. And I see McLaughlin in a top 6, top 7 position. So since I don't have Felix finishing in the top 10 and kind of fading like he did at Texas, Scott McLaughlin over Felix Rosenqvist, probably the biggest play of the day for me. Jared, we'll start with you on some of these matchups here, going back and forth.
Well, yeah, you just talked a little bit about McLaughlin over Rosenqvist. I'm definitely making that a play. The other one I like that's interesting to me is Grosjean and Will Power. So those are two drivers that I feel like they're either going to, like Mike said a minute ago, they're either going to win the race or finish, really high, or they're going to do something and find their way into an accident or the tires or something of that nature. And I just feel like after listening to Will Power's reaction after qualifying yesterday, he seems like after the past few years that he's had, he's really seemed like he's accepting it's not all or nothing. It's like he's actually trying to like maybe win the championship this year by like keeping it clean, being a little conservative, and then and I feel like Grosjean's kind of like that as well. So that's a matchup bet that I kind of like. Obviously, Grosjean has a fast car and is going to go for it, but I kind of like Will Power in that. Minus 109, not too bad of odds. So that would be my other matchup bet aside from McLaughlin over Rosenqvist.
Mike, what do you like here?
Yeah, so just kind of give you guys some of my process on some of this stuff. First thing I do when I see these matchup bets is I'll pull up the grid, and I want to see, especially on a street course, where you only have a couple passing zones. A lot of times they make these matchup bets with guys that are next to each other on the grid, but sometimes they don't. On the face of it, the next thing I'll look at is the numbers and see who's the favorite, how much juice you're having to pay. Right now IndyCar. You don't get a lot of great offerings. It's rare to see somebody at better than even money on an odd. The McLaughlin Rosenqvist one did jump out to me, but there is a pretty big gap on the grid from those guys. Rosenqvist started 4th, McLaughlin started 9th. That's a couple of spots he's going to have to pick up. You would have expected to get McLaughlin at even money or maybe even plus 110 with that kind of gap. So that gives me a little bit of pause given the spots on the grid and the odds that you're getting correlating to that. I do like Power over Grosjean. The only problem with that is, I'm kind of, it'd be a hedge, obviously, because I'm on Grosjean I'm on Grosjean to win. I'm on Grosjean top 3. So if those bets come through, I'm going to more than likely lose that bet against Will Power. So sometimes you can use some matchups to hedge some of your other bets. It might be a place where I look to that. But I'm hoping some of the other books put out a couple more matchups. It's it kind of stinks we only have 5 showing, but I would expect you like you said before, shop around, look for the best number. Their numbers are all over the place in IndyCar. They're not the same. It's not like a football game where you see every single sportsbook have pretty much the exact same number. So I'll have everything. If I see something I like or I place a bet on it, I always post it out on Twitter.
Yeah, and we're using Barstool's odds here just because they are the ones that have the matchups and a little bit more than just the straight win bets. I know DraftKings has some points bet, obviously. I haven't really seen much out of FanDuel IndyCar-wise all weekend. But yeah, as Mike said, shop around and we'll be tweeting, all the way up to the green flag at 3:15 Eastern today. Some picks that we may change because obviously, if something happens in this morning warm-up that's going to be coming up here after we get done with this, things can certainly change. One more prop bet that Barstool had, and this is just a fun bet that I like. You've got the engine matchup, but then the over-under of the number that the winning car will have is over-under 10.5. So obviously the under covers McLaughlin, covers Joseph Newgarden, covers Scott Dixon, covers Alex Palou, covers Marcus Ericsson. I think that over minus 139, which is exactly what Colton Herta is to finish in the top 3. I think you got to go with the over of 10.5 on here. Just gives you more options, like Grosjean, like Rossi, like Colton Herta. But you guys, anything here? I look at this as just a fun, $1 to $2 bet here.
Yeah, so I actually posted a poll on this on Twitter when I saw it come out, and the numbers obviously have changed. It was pretty much even money both ways before qualifying. And I went through and I did the math. I counted, 7 potential over cars, 7 potential under cars. So to me, I graded this out as an even money bet. I think it's right now. It's more likely with Herta at the top, the overs is the favorite. This is another fun way you could possibly hedge. If you were a professional sports bettor putting a lot of money on this stuff, you're always looking to get plus odds on both sides of something, and then just take your 5% on your money or less or so. So, give me the over. This is something I might like play around with just for fun, just to have fun watching the race, have something to cheer for.
Jared?
Yeah, I mean, it's to Herta or not to Herta. So I think it's the overs probably more enticing than the others, especially if you're looking at Andretti. I do think the engine manufacturing, is minus 200 too much to lay? I mean,
you almost just look at it like, hey, I'll take a Chevy engine, and I've got at least the 3 Penske bullets in my gun to win. Maybe even if Pato can get up there as a Chevy to win at plus 150. I kind of look at that Chevy bet as like, all right, I've got the 3 Penske drivers versus the field. Joseph is starting second, and I think Power and McLaughlin are way better than what their starting positions show. Obviously, sometimes you just get caught out. We saw it yesterday in qualifying how many times where somebody backed up around the hairpin and then screwed up somebody's lap. I think Power was on his best lap when he got pushed back by, I believe, Marcus Ericsson. Same thing happened with Scott McLaughlin. So certainly frustrating in qualifying. So I think if you are going to take that Chevy engine, you're basically saying I'm going to get plus 150 for the 3 Penske cars, Mike.
Yeah, minus 200, that's tough to lay. But again, this is another way if you want to hedge out. If you have if you're going to put most of your bankroll on Herta to win, then you could throw a little bit on the Chevy engines just in case the Penske or somebody else ruins the party. But yeah, these are something just fun. Look, it's fun. If you have a little family bet, Honda versus Chevy, this is something you can use. So not much there for me.
Cool.
All right, guys, any final bets? Check us out on Twitter because we will definitely have bets coming up, even right up to the green flag, because, again, these things change. At Tony D. Indy, at Indy_bet is where you can find Mike, Jared, J Sparkman _. Don't forget to follow out Burnout Sports. Burnout bets throughout the day. Mike, we'll start with you. Your last thoughts on today's IndyCar race at Long Beach that goes green on NBC just after 3 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, like you said, I think the most important thing is shop around. If you have multiple books available to you, look around. If PointsBet's still dropping 9-1 on Herta, just take all your money and put it there would be my advice. And cross your fingers that it works out because you're getting exceptional value. But no, keep an eye on Twitter as these matchups and odds come out. We'll post them and we'll post the card. And hopefully it's a good, fun race. Can't wait.
Jared?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep watching, see if there's anything that pops out. But for the most part, I think my picks are Herta to win. I got about 5 units on there. Rossi top 3, and then big on McLaughlin over Rosenquist, and probably a little bit on Power over Grosjean, just to have something else to root for.
Yeah, it should be a fun race. Again, either Colton's going to dominate this thing, and we're going to be crossing our fingers for our top 3 bets, or things could get crazy. I mean, as Mike said, especially on a street course, anything can happen. Stick tight to it. We'll have you updated throughout the race and beforehand as well. I'm going to run down, try to find a loan shark to place that bet on McLaughlin over Rosenquist at -115. Maybe we can pay off some things here over the next couple of weeks. For Mike and Jared, I'm Tony Donahue. Again, thanks for watching. Let us know your bets as well on Twitter and some of your favorite plays for today as IndyCar invades Long Beach. BurnoutSports.com. Burnout Bets has you covered throughout the race. Enjoy it.